Just a little bit of a preface and an apology. Sorry there was no video on Wednesday. I went through the footage, like I said in my Twitter. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter, shameless plug, it's at Bookish Therese. But I said on my Twitter that I was about to edit the footage, and somehow magically I had filmed it, so really about my chin and up was visible, and it was just not something that I wanted to put out there. Hey you guys, it's Therese and welcome back to my channel. Today's tea talk is going to be on The Third Twin by CJ Amololu, and I have quite a bit to talk about, so let's just kind of jump into the video. But for those of you who don't know, The Third Twin follows twins Ava and Lexi, and growing up they created an alter ego, like a third twin almost. Well, it was a third twin, a sibling. Her name was Alicia, and every time they would do something wrong, Alicia would be the scapegoat. They would blame it on Alicia. If, say, they ate an extra cookie, changed the channel, or how may have you, it was Alicia's fault. Now, growing up, they got rid of that. It was like an imaginary friend, but now that they're about like 16, 17-ish, about to graduate high school, they decided to bring Alicia back so that way they can go and date guys that they normally wouldn't date, probably wouldn't get along with, probably would not get approved of, and they date them. All was fun and well until about recently. Like, after one bad date, they end up, one of the boys they dated ends up dead, and the killer is that, no, pun not intended, is that Alicia's fingerprints are somehow on the dead boy. But the thing is, Alicia doesn't exist. They don't know who did it, whether or not it was some angry person or if it was one of the twins. So they just kind of have to figure out who did it. Now, my first thought on this is that I was intrigued by the synopsis. I thought it was going to end up being a case of stolen identity, or a mystery sibling looking for revenge, or a twin who went awry and decided that, hey, you know what, I think I'm just going to start killing people for a living nowadays. So it was just a lot of things that I thought was possible. I was prepared for any possibility and like open to whatever ending it was, and it sounds really interesting because like I said, I've said this multiple times, but I don't read very many thrillers, so having a YA thriller, aside from all the other like heavier thrillers I read that were adult, was kind of another way to ease myself into this genre, and I was really excited to get into it, and I read it pretty quickly, like in the span of a couple of days. Now for the things that I did like. I really did like the premise. I thought that the premise was really intriguing and had a lot of possibility to be a good thriller, to be a great thriller. Like, even though it's like a weird third twin situation and there's a lot of things that could be going very cliche with it, I thought that for a YA synopsis it sounded really good. I also really liked Eli and Zane, who were the two boys and the two love interests for Lexi, who is the main point of view in this book. Although they did deserve a lot better than what happened to them in the story, I'm not gonna lie, but we'll get into that later. Actually, no, I won't, because it's very spoilery, so. But they just deserve better. I really love the Latinx representation. I didn't know that there was going to be any Latinx rep, but somehow there was. It just kind of popped out at me throughout the book, and it wasn't like a huge kind of situation where it was detrimental to the plot, but it was a nice added thing to kind of introduce these Latinx characters. And I think the twins were Latinx, their nanny was Latinx, and then a mystery character was Latinx as well. And I think their dad was as well, so yes, I think so. I also like that there was a big driving force for Lexi going to college. She is a senior, and they definitely did not miss out on the fact that, you know, seniors are kind of worried about college and concerned about what they're going to be doing with their lives after high school. And I like that they introduced that and kind of kept that as a theme to kind of remind you that she's still about 16 or 17, and these are not worries that a 16 or 17-year-old should ever be having in their life. I also really enjoyed Lexi's point of view. It is told in first person limited, so it's very much just in Lexi's head. We don't do a lot of head hopping, and I think that kind of makes it very much, keeps the mystery in, because I think a lot of head hopping kind of ruins the ambiguity of the story and kind of ruins who might have done it, and it's just a point of confusion for a lot of things when there's a lot of POVs in one story, especially a thriller where there are a lot of like threads going in and trying to come together. So I like that it was limited. I also like that I couldn't pinpoint who it was really. I mean, like, I had my inklings, I had an idea of what was going to be happening, but I couldn't really like figure out, like, at the end of the day, who had actually done it. So that was a nice little twist. Sorry for the switching camera angle, kind of a little difficult. my camera angle's like straight on and I was like at an angle, so it's just very painful. Now, as for the things I did not like, Lexi's actions got on my nerves quite a bit. Now, I know that she's supposed to be 17, she doesn't think logically, but between her and Ava, she's supposed to be the logical twin, she's supposed to think of things through and figure out these things, she's supposed to be intelligent and whatnot, and I know that it's not like a detriment to the character, but she kept acting impulsively and just not thinking clearly, and it was just really annoying to have to read about when you're sitting there like, I know you're 17 or 16, but there are 17 or 16-year-olds who would think with a lot more brain than you have been the past like 50 pages of this book. The plot twist was enjoyable, but it was very anticlimactic. It wasn't new or surprising, and it wasn't done in an interesting way that really surprised me, entertained me. It was really anticlimactic, very cliche, but it wasn't done in a way that made me get over the cliche or the fact that it was very just flat with the surprise. So that was kind of disappointing, honestly, and I feel like that if she had been given a bit more page space, there would be more time to develop that plot out a bit more. Now, while I did like the idea of her struggling with her college acceptance and trying to figure out her future and figure out what she's going to do if she wasn't accepted into this college, it just dropped off the face of the earth after a minute. It was a point of contention. It was a problem for Lexi not to have been accepted into whatever she wanted to, or to be accepted into this college, but then it just kind of fell flat. It disappeared off the face of the book, and then it didn't come back until like the very last pages, where it was all of a sudden all wrapped up into a pretty pink bow, and that was it. And I just think that it was kind of anticlimactic as well, and then I didn't see the point in it once it had wrapped up that way. Like, I liked it throughout the book. I thought it was a great way to remind us of her age, remind us of her goals, and how this was not exactly how she wanted to spend her like last leg of her senior year. But I also felt like it could have been done a bit better, since it did just kind of drop off the face of the earth, and it just wasn't all that. It wasn't that great of a plot twist or like a subplot if it just kind of disappeared and then wrapped up beautifully at the end of everything. There was an unnecessary love story. You guys know me and my love stories. I love it when they all make sense, when they make when things have a purpose and whatnot, but this had a really unnecessary love story. Now, I understand that dating was kind of a big thing in this book, and I enjoyed it. I thought that one of the characters that shows up early on was a good match for her, and I thought that they worked out really well despite differences. But the one that she inevitably ended up with, it was very much like, I never saw you in this situation, which isn't always a bad thing, but it was like after a single kiss, she was like, oh my goodness, he's the love of my life, and then blah 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 blah, and I was just like, why? It's a thriller. Romance is not necessary despite it being YA, and I just didn't like the fact that it just took a kiss for her to realize her feelings for someone, and all of a sudden she was quote unquote home. And I don't know where that situation came from. There had never been any hints that she had romantic feelings for this character until that point. So it was just not enjoyable to have read that and have it continue on, and then have where the story ended where it did. And I just thought, me, unnecessary love stories, not my thing. So probably would not recommend this book to anyone who doesn't like love stories, or especially ones that kind of smack you in the face. As for my overall thoughts, at its core, it's an interesting, the premise is good. It needs more fleshing out, I think. Given how short the book is, there's only like maybe 300 pages. I think it could have used an extra a couple hundred pages to just flesh everything out and wrap everything up in a semi-neat bow and call it good, because it was just too perfect, especially considering how it's a thriller and no one ever gets out completely a-okay in a thriller, even the main characters. So just to have that be the point where it's all pretty in pink, I think it just needs some more fleshing out. Like I said, I want to see it as a longer work. I think as a longer work it would be a really great thriller. Most thrillers that I read, especially adult thrillers, are a lot thicker than this, so I think had it been given a little bit more, and I know this isn't her debut novel, so she could have gotten probably a bit more page space for her to spread it out and everything. I definitely recommend this to someone who's trying to step into a simple YA thriller. If you're trying to get more into thrillers, or try to start up on it but don't know where to start and don't want to be too overwhelmed, because a lot of thrillers have a lot of side plots and a lot of random things in there that don't really make sense, I suggest to go ahead and give this a go. It's really simple, really easy to follow plot, and it's YA, so it's not as complex as an actual adult thriller. Definitely would recommend it. As for my overall rating, I'm a little torn. I like the premise. I I liked it a lot, but I can't see myself giving it like a full-on like 3.5 to 4 stars or even a 4 stars. So I think I'm going to stick with my kind of like in the middle of a 2.75 and a 3 stars. I just think that had it been more fleshed out, I would be more inclined to give it a higher rating. But that is it for my tea talk for the third twin by CJ and Mololu. If you guys like these kind of videos, hit subscribe. I also do have a long playlist of them, so I will try to link that in the cards above. Let's see what else. All my social media links are down below. Please follow me. I do try to be more active on my social media, my Twitter and my Instagram specifically, and that'll kind of give you guys updates on whether or not there'll be a video out, videos you should be looking forward to in the future, and my current like thoughts on what I'm reading as well. On that, subscribe, hit like for more of these videos if you do enjoy these, and if you do and you want to see a tea talk of a specific novel, please go ahead and suggest those down below. I'm more than happy to take suggestions. And then on top of that, I do upload every Wednesday and Saturday, so if you guys don't subscribe, you'll be missing out on those, which, you know, it's kind of a bummer. So I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Bye.